IDC estimates that in 2020, every person will generate 1.7 megabytes of data per second. That was before the world collectively moved online. This explosion of data means that cloud computing simply needs to grow. To support that growth, we need decentralized distributed computing. The thing is, distributed computing is already here. With a sudden expanded remote workforce, there is enormous pressure on our communication systems. Early deployments of 5G technologies and edge computing are helping ease these burdens. 5G is characterized by enhanced mobile broadband, massive machine-type communication, and ultra reliability and low latency communication. In plain English, that means a next order of magnitude connection bandwidth, dense populations of cheap intelligent devices, and more critical latency sensitive use cases. Deployment of 5G starts with New Radio, a uniquely designed air interface crafted specifically for 5G technologies. New Radio is important for many reasons, one of which is it enables telecommunications organizations to add edge computing at radio access network aggregation sites and address the challenges of low latency communications. Edge computing is a distributed computing architecture that brings compute power closer to the things and people that produce and use the data, improving resiliency and localizing data aggregation. Organizations are using edge computing to do a lot of innovative things, including analyzing sensor data for predictive maintenance and quality control, deploying augmented reality systems for remote operations, and identifying and unlocking new revenue streams and new personalized experiences. You see, 5G and edge computing are technological trends that are also playing a part in the changing relationship between IT and business. Today, every company is becoming a technology company. Perhaps better put, it is technology that differentiates the business. As data is generated at an unprecedented pace, businesses globally have the opportunity to use data to optimize and identify new revenue streams that have not been previously available to them. But the process of getting access to the right data, aggregating it, and making it useful isn't obvious. Business stakeholders must partner with IT in new, inventive ways. IT is what enables the business to get a better picture of what's possible and what's necessary. If data has become core to business success, as we here at Red Hat believe it has, then IT has become the key to competitive differentiation. Industry reports confirm this trend. Last year, Analysys Mason found that most enterprises will spend an average of 30% of their IT budgets on edge computing over the next 3 years. They also found that most organizations across all verticals expect a 10 to 30% reduction in costs from using edge computing. So let's take a step back and look at how we got here. The first industry challenge was virtualizing network appliances, commonly referred to as NFV, to improve costs and flexibility. Then the question was how to use that software-defined infrastructure to create new value. The challenge today is that the cost of building a 5G network is so high that revenue growth is a fundamental part of the ROI discussion. Edge computing is one of the technologies that makes that investment pay off, and the interplay of 5G and edge technology is what opens up operational and revenue opportunities. But for many folks, edge is a future conversation. So what can we say about 5G for the rest of us? To address the needs of today while remaining flexible and open to the opportunities of tomorrow, we believe the most fundamental piece of technology in this story is a single horizontal hybrid cloud platform. It's the technology that allows you to build a common platform from core to wherever your workloads need to go, today or tomorrow. And that's what we've built. A single common horizontal hybrid cloud platform eases the design, deployment, scalability, and manageability of your infrastructure. And it provides greater security and resilience to your operations. Running a common platform from the core data center to the network edge, including disaggregation of RAN, supports a cloud-native network experience and simplifies the onboarding of network functions and other workloads. We've been focused on network transformation for nearly a decade. We disaggregated bespoke hardware-based appliances and replaced them with virtualized network functions, VNFs, and commercial off-the-shelf hardware. We successfully made hybrid cloud the key platform for network transformation. Today, we are moving from virtualized functions to cloud-native functions. This network transformation is combining what we've learned from virtualization, automation, cloud, and web-scale computing and applying it to the telco industry. Now we can distribute and scale 5G core functions and disaggregate RAN at the edge to create more flexibility and efficiency in network operations. We believe the future network is built on such a platform expanding all the way to the edge. To meet various needs, a cloud computing platform should support all types of workloads, including VMs, containers, bare metal nodes running network functions, and AI and machine learning. It builds on this foundation by helping teams build cloud-native apps more quickly with DevOps, deploy on a scalable and flexible cloud infrastructure that adapts quickly to change, and handle security throughout multiple tiers, including platform infrastructure, the application tier, and then across application lifecycles. And it automates provisioning, management, and orchestration. It runs horizontally so you can run any workload on any footprint in any location. Crucially, the promise of 5G networks depends on an open platform that can evolve rapidly to address change. Open source platform solutions ensure edge technologies work across a wide ecosystem without the lock-in of a proprietary platform. This unifies network, enterprise, and consumer edge applications all on a common platform, creating operational efficiency because it's a common platform and also enabling the broadest ecosystem to target that platform. The open source development model harnesses creativity and innovation across a wide range of industries and use cases. Combining efforts across industries means we benefit from one another, and we don't have to create expensive custom solutions. The architectural refinements needed to support a broad set of use cases builds flexibility and sustainability into the open source project. We also know that open source communities guide innovation in key technology areas for modern networks, not just 5G and edge, but areas like network and IT automation, IT and cloud security, container orchestration, and AI and machine learning. But innovation doesn't happen by chance. It's the outcome of a proven process, open source collaboration. The future of 5G is being determined now. We have an opportunity to bring everyone together in this huge ecosystem. Telco service providers, equipment vendors, and systems integrators, just to name a few, to shape the future of networking. We also know that not every organization is at the same place in their 5G journey. Many of you are dealing with the pressures and problems of today and don't have the luxury of thinking about tomorrow just yet. We have decades of experience in open source communities that we use to help our partners and customers access the open source innovation and technologies they need to address their most pressing challenges. Open source collaboration is one of our core principles. We connect you to a problem-solving community of more than 100 of your telco peers. A partner-based approach to network design means that you can always choose your preferred network applications, platforms, and integrated technologies and services with confidence that they will work well together. Our goal at Open5GCon is to further unite this vast ecosystem of partners, customers, and market analysts in open collaboration and communication so that we can shape the future of Open 5G together. So let's get going. Daryl Jordan Smith, our Vice President of Global Accounts and Target Industries at Red Hat, is here to get those conversations started.
Hello, my name is Daryl Jordan Smith. As Chris outlined in their opening remarks, remaining agile, nimble, and responsive to the business needs and the demands of the market is actually paramount to delivering customer differentiated value in the industry. One of the best parts of actually working at Red Hat is hearing how customers, service providers of all sizes are stepping up to these challenges around the world, using open source technology, developing new business strategies, and adapting consistently to the changing demand of their particular markets. Today, you're going to hear from Vodafone Idea Limited and Deutsche Telekom about how they're adapting and what they're doing with their IT infrastructure, their network infrastructure, and how they're being able to be nimble and address some of the innovative work that they're initiating in their marketplaces. And I'm particularly excited to start this session with Vodafone Idea. Vodafone Idea was created as a strategic merger of Vodafone and Idea. two huge network infrastructures in India coming together that currently serve over 300 million subscribers through hundreds of different data centers over their network cloud platform. Today, it's the largest distributed cloud deployment with over 330 million customers running on it. So really excited to introduce Vodafone Idea's Chief Technology Officer, Vishant Vora, to share how he's and his company is working hard to support that innovation, that digital transformation across a massive market with edge computing and hybrid cloud. Hello, Vishant. How are you doing today?
Hi, Daryl. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure's all mine. I'm really, really, truly excited and want to thank you for your time here today. Just getting into sort of the questions that I have on the top of my mind. From your perspective, you two operators, Vodafone and Idea coming together, uniquely providing, leading services in India. What were the key challenges from a technology perspective, you faced in actually bringing that together and actually making it one operator in a very large market as India actually is?
So, Daryl, this is a journey that began 2 years ago. Our day zero post merger was almost exactly 2 years ago. And at that time, when we merged number two and number three operator in India, we had an estate of about 280,000 sites across the country. So very large geographic footprint, but with a very high degree of overlap. The two operators were almost exactly replicating each other. And more than 30% of the sites were actually in the exact same location. So there was a massive task in terms of deduplicating the networks. The other big part of the challenge was making sure that we take the full advantage of the combined spectrum, which was one of the big drivers behind the thesis for the merger. So making sure that we take advantage of that spectrum as soon as we could and start to then improve quality of service and speeds in the market. Then, of course, the classical issues of two different organizations coming in together with very different philosophies of how the networks were built, different legacies, and two very proud teams. Both of them had been successful in their own right. And then, of course, we had a enormous variety of vendor landscape. So we had pretty much every major vendor you can think of in the telecom was present in the network with with these two networks coming together. And then we had to do this deduplication across the radio domain, across core, across transport, across our databases. And that was a mammoth task. It had never been done before anywhere in the world. So we did not even have a template to follow. So we had to create our own template. So it was a very large scale integration. It involved a lot of challenges in terms of bringing the two kind of teams together, as well as managing the diversity. I'm very glad to say that as we stand today, we are almost done with the deduplication. That is far faster than what we had originally imagined. We had said it will take 3 years. If it wasn't for the COVID lockdown, we would be done in 18 months. And we are almost there now. And with that integration, over the last 2 years, we have doubled the capacity in our networks, and we have almost double the coverage. So we cover almost a billion population of India now as we stand.
That's a phenomenal story. And you mentioned COVID and the lockdown in India, and obviously there's huge demand in terms of network capacity that was required. And I've not seen anything in any of the press or anywhere that you had any significant outages. So you must have really built a rock solid environment with those teams coming together.
Well, we had a pretty solid network that we have been building, and we have built over the years. However, the amount of traffic growth that we saw within the span of about 3 days, we experienced the amount of traffic growth we would have otherwise experienced in a full year. And in addition to that, that traffic growth was coming from very different parts of the network than the traditionally busy parts. Traditionally, a lot of the capacity is deployed in the business districts, Daryl.
Mm,
Whereas with the lockdown, what happened is the usage actually moved all to residential areas, and it was it just shot up due to the consumer apps and entertainment. So very different kind of traffic, very video intensive traffic in very different parts of the network. And then we had to really make that switch to serve that different geographies and much higher volumes. And we were able to serve our communities and in this time of crisis. And I'm glad to say that our network has withstood that enormous stress challenge, and we continue to have one of the best speeds actually in the country as we speak today.
yeah. Well, a real strong testament to you and your team, and I'm really pleased that you were able to meet and step up to the situation as this pandemic has affected us all. But with moving on just a little bit more into the numbers of subscribers in India. For those who aren't familiar with the Indian market, there's over 1 billion subscribers. A very aggressive landscape in terms of competitive in its nature, and the services that are typically deployed and how people are consuming them. You've had to do all of this in a hyper competitive environment. Could you just talk a little bit about the Indian market to give those people that are looking at this a perspective from your view?
Sure, Daryl. I think most people will know India has a population of 1.3 billion people. Uh, the other fact about India is almost every person touching the internet in India is doing it through his mobile, because the fixed line penetration in India is very low. India is also an incredibly diverse country. Many different languages, different history, cultural histories, uh, even different religions. So incredible amount of diversity, and we operate within that space with a lot of the local nuances and the context. So we always have to be very cognizant of the fact that ultimately it's every individual customer is buying our services based on his or her personal preference. So we need to make sure our network is able to meet many different needs. India also has a very large diversity in terms of the economics of the society. You have incredibly well, and you also have very poor people, and then within that you have a very large middle class. So the content that they consume, the way the services get consumed, their expectations of services, pricing, all of that does vary substantially across all of these segments and geographies. So we try to design our products in a way that serves all of these different segments and needs. One thing one becomes very aware of as soon as one comes to India is that you have to have the lowest cost of production, because that's how you build scale. If you're going to serve this enormous market of hundreds of millions of people, then you have to have a low cost of production. That's how you make your service affordable and consumable by the masses. So that is one of the big challenges. At the same time, India has also a pretty advanced technology society. So India is kind of the IT shop of the back office of the world, and India has some very high tech industries as well in pharmaceutical and others. So we need to also cater to those very sophisticated users at the same time that we are serving the basic needs. And the other unique thing about India is India has more than 1 billion people already having a unique digital ID. So pretty much almost every Indian has had their biometrics captured and a unique ID created for them. Now that creates an enormous opportunity as the society transitions into the digital space. And I think the digital economy is going to be a big change for India, because in a physical economy, The resources are actually consumed uniquely and they're finite. Whether it is when you talk about soap, detergent, toothpaste, clothes, they require physical goods. Once the raw material is used, it is exhausted. Whereas in digital, that's an inexhaustible supply, and that creates a very different kind of supply situation than many of the physical goods have had in India. So in digital, it's an infinite supply, and that creates an opportunity really to touch everybody and create these digital services that cater to a very diverse country. So it can also bring in a lot of creativity and innovation in the kind of services we can create for the country. So that combination, I think, is going to be a unique challenge and an opportunity in India, and that's why I'm so excited about the edge computing, because it can really transform the industries in India, whether it is manufacturing or service or any kind of industry. I think it will truly transform the country and the economy.
Yeah, I certainly see that, and it's a very exciting time for India. And as you said, you're the back office of the world in terms of creating and developing and deploying software. And I would imagine, you're having to create a network fabric that supports that. And I think at Vodafone Idea, you have something called the Universal Network Cloud. Can you just describe what that is and what the vision is for that, as how it plays into the digital economy of India?
Sure, Daryl. Daryl, actually, we don't call it a universal network cloud. We call it the universal cloud. We have
Ah, right.
dropped the
Okay.
word network for a very clear reason, because it's a general purpose cloud. It can cater to many different kinds of workload. Unlike pretty much every other telco operator in the world, I think everybody would have had some level of a cloud deployment in their estate at this point in time. What we have done, which we think is very unique and different, is that we created a general purpose cloud that can carry not only network workloads but also IT workloads as well as third party customer workloads. And that's what makes it universal. Then that's why we call it universal. The other thing we are very passionate about is making sure that that will support the hybrid functionality. So then our customers and us will have a choice of using a public cloud, private cloud, or our public slash private cloud that we are creating with our universal cloud. And that kind of capability, I think, is unique. And we are the I believe we are at the leading edge of the of deploying something like that in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the scale of India overall, I would imagine that that cloud could be the largest cloud actually on the planet in terms of delivering such services across such a large spectrum.
I believe it is one of the largest. I wouldn't be able to claim that because I don't have the research behind it. But today, as we stand, we have 80 locations where the cloud is deployed. Our plan is to roll it out into about 200 locations over the period of next 12 to 18 months. And this cloud, once again, will carry all different kinds of applications and workloads.
And you mentioned the edge as being an important element of hybrid and cloud in India. How do you see the edge evolving around the universal cloud? What sorts of services will you run at the edge, for example?
So the edge cloud is a very important opportunity for us, Daryl, because it first of all it creates a unique latency advantage, which is got great value in its own for many of the IoT applications, many of the latency sensitive applications like AR, VR, etc. But in addition to that, it also helps lower the cost. The traditional use of a big OTT cloud costs a lot of money on egress charges. With the edge cloud, you don't need to ship all that data back to a central cloud location. You do a lot of the processing at the edge, and you only send back some important information, which is a much more reduced version, to the central cloud for storage and retrieval, which I think will help save a lot of money for our customers as well. So those are two very important and attractive propositions for the customers. Now, in addition to that, I think another very unique thing that comes as a telco is we are able to stitch the connectivity portion of our network much more tighter with the actual cloud experience. Traditionally, people buy connectivity separately and cloud separately. So end-to-end monitoring, administration, quality provisioning, etc., is a bit of a task. With this kind of an edge cloud, I think that becomes lot easier to stitch together, and that delivers a substantial advantage in latency. Is actually even a greater advantage in latency than the physical geographical reach.
Mm.
So that is another big thing that we have discovered. Now, the other big thing that we have been very, very clear about right from the beginning is that the universal cloud truly has to be built on open standards, and we should not have a single vendor lock-in. The other big thing is we want to have standardized templates for everything in our cloud. So therefore, any kind of tools and applications, we try to standardize that, and that we think will make it much more industrialized proposition for our enterprise clients. We are also putting a lot of emphasis on automating the deployments. So we want to really crash the deployment times. We have already crashed our deployment times with our universal cloud by 60% today, but I think there is an opportunity to go further, probably 90%. So we can really become a very agile business. And then, of course, a very big advantage is the open source community. So getting access to that open source community will really help us get that innovation, responsiveness of the systems, the lower cost, all of that made possible due to the open source community.
That's great. And that was going to be one of my questions, actually. How are you using open source and open source development methodologies, and how you build out the universal cloud, and why is that so important to what you're trying to achieve? I guess you've partially answered it in terms of cost, but are there some other factors that you are interested in or see from open source that can provide an advantage in terms of what you're trying to achieve?
Sure, Daryl. I think there are 150,000 members of the Open Source Foundation, I think. And I'm now going to do
Yes.
an advertisement for you. And 91,000 project contributors. That is an enormous scale of talent and skills available. So it is not only about lowering cost. Of course, that helps lower cost, but more importantly, a lot of the solutions come immediately and they get addressed much, much faster. Problems happen with any technology, any platform, but having such a large community dedicated to actually fixing problems, making the product better, really makes a huge difference in terms of the readiness of the platform to really deliver a very high quality, high fidelity experience for our business. So I think that is another big advantage that we have. And then I think the fact that it is open source and built on open standards also helps us host many different applications much more easily. We are much more open to host any kind of network or IT applications because that platform does not have economic incentive to create any lock-ins. And I believe that is another great value that we get from the open source.
Well, thank you for the advertisement, and it's really a testament to open source in general. There are many millions of developers, as you just intimated, out there across many different projects, and we're really excited to be part of that community as Red Hat ourselves. But coming back to your business and the universal cloud, And sort of wrapping up, a sort of a wrap-up question here, if I have one. From your perspective, if you had to give any CTO advice of any other operator on around the world, not just at your scale, but maybe at some smaller scales, what would that advice be as they move into this very new world of edge computing, 5G, or low latency based application services, even on a 3 or 4G based platform?
So probably advice is not the word I would use, but I would say I'm very happy to share my experience that many of the things that we thought will take, several years to develop, to mature, we've actually been able to do that in much lesser time. So I would say that, take, have courage, because I don't think the journey is as difficult as one imagines before they start. So it's worthwhile taking the leap because the payoff is really great. I didn't talk about how much we have saved in our TCO, but actually the pre-cloud deployment of our network components in the core has crashed by more than 80% already. Yeah, that is network OpEx, is network CapEx. I'm looking at the TCO. That is a massive saving. So the price is definitely big. So it is worthwhile taking a plunge. It is not as risky as one would believe. And I also believe that there is a great opportunity for every telco to combine the network and the IT workloads into a single cloud. I think it creates enormous new business opportunities in terms of how many new services you can create. It creates far more agility and responsiveness to the business needs, and it lowers cost. Those are my observations. Those are my learnings, and that's what I would like to share with my colleagues around the world.
That's great, Vishant. I want to thank you for the time that you've given us today. You've been very gracious. It's really exciting to talk with you. And I've had a couple of other opportunities to talk with you. And every time I do, I get more energized with the mission that you're on and what you're providing, not just to the business, but the society and the business ecosystem overall. So I want to congratulate you and the team for that. And again, thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thank you, Daryl, for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and all the best.